welcome to Get More Results, the show that helps you get more results both in business and in life. Today I'm going to continue talking about and teaching you about the results formula. The results formula, as you know, is a formula that can help you get more results. It's about giving up goals to get the results that you want. We've already spoken about R, which stands for ready, and we've talked about E, which stands for end. Today, I'm going to talk to you about S, which stands for steps. So, steps. Now that you know that you're ready and you know what the end game looks like, you got to develop the steps to get to the end game. And I call this Z to A thinking, meaning that you start with the steps that are closest to the results you want and start to work backwards. So if I want to go for the store, for example, I got to be at the store. How am I getting to the store? I drive to the store. I'm going to walk to the store. What am I going to do that? I got to put on my clothing, or I have to put on my coat, or however that might be. So you want to start to work backwards. If you want to make more money, then you have to find clients. If you're going to find clients, what services are you going to offer? What services are you going to offer? Are they developed? So if you start to work backwards in the Z to A thinking fashion, then once you've developed all the steps working backwards, then really all you have to do is start the steps forward. I know it seems kind of simple, right? It's actually very simple. However, most people never sit down to write out their action steps. They just go. How many of you have decided that you want to get a goal and you say, I want to lose weight? And off you go. And you know what? The first day you go, I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to eat that, I'm not going to eat this. And the next thing you know, you broke your diet. And you're like, oh, all right, tomorrow, I'll start tomorrow. Well, that's one of the reasons why goals don't work, is because in terms of I want to lose weight, what result are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to lose 10 pounds? Are you trying to fit into a specific dress or a specific pair of pants? What is it? Do you want to feel better? Do you want to measure differently? So if you think about the result you're looking for rather than I just want to lose weight, it will help you achieve that. So in my losing weight, let's say I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, that's my result. No, it really isn't. The result is instead of weighing 140 pounds, I want to weigh 130 pounds. And how am I going to feel when I weigh 130 pounds? What will I look like when I weigh 130 pounds? What does the end result look like? And the more I can paint a picture around that, which is what we talked about in the E segment, the more likely I'm going to achieve that. So the first step when you're developing your steps is to make sure that the end result is very clearly articulated. It paints a picture for you, and that it's easy to understand. I always say that if you can understand it like a 5-year-old, then you can understand anything. So write it down, and write it down so it's really clear. Most people don't ever write anything down. What they do is they carry it in their head. Well, that's not going to help you. I truly believe that if it's in your head, it doesn't work because you get distracted. You decide to do other things. The fact is that if you can write it down, it's on a piece of paper, your brain can see it. If you say it to yourself and speak it, your brain will hear it. And as we know, the brain will react to things that it can see and it can hear, and will help you get the result that you're looking for. So write it down. Be very specific. Be very clear. Paint a picture is what I say, so that you know that when you get off track, you can just read that end statement to get back on track. All right, so that's step one, is to make sure that you have a very clearly articulated end result in mind on a piece of paper. Then what do? Now you start to describe the steps working backwards. What does it take to achieve that end result? You'll write that down. Write it down. It is very important that you write these things down. And don't go, oh, Jean, I can wing it. You need to write it down. Because if you get it out of your head and onto a piece of paper, it's more likely to happen. I believe that writing it down makes it real. And when it's real, then it can be accomplished. It's sitting in your head. It's just an idea. It's not something that's real. So write it down. And you might have many, many steps to get to that end result. You just want to look at one step at a time. So end result, What step will it take you to get to that end result? And write that down and be as specific as possible. Again, painting a picture as best as you possibly can. Then what you want to do is go to the next step. So the next step will help you. So you keep working backwards. That's Z to A thinking. Most of us do A to Z thinking, meaning A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You get the idea. What I'm asking you to do is to do Z to A thinking. Z, Y, X, W, and etc. Because the more that you work backwards, and notice how I'm doing it so slowly, then you can play all those steps forward to help you achieve what you're looking to achieve. So that's the second step, is to make sure that you write it down. Okay, now you've got the first step all taken care of, you got the second step all taken care of. Now what do? Well, now you get to play the steps forward. And you would think that's pretty easy. However, what happens is along the way, we often get off the track. We lose our way. We get distracted. So I suggest putting in different systems that can help you maintain the track so that you can get to the end result that you're looking for. How can you do that? Well, there's several ways to do that. Now, most of us think that we should be able to do it on our own. And I'm going to say that that's not really true. I think it's really difficult to keep yourself accountable. Some people are really good at it, but for the most part, I think most of us are terrible at it. And I think most of us get really distracted by our lives, and therefore we don't ever get to the result we want. So if we can put systems in our lives to help us get to those results, you're more likely to achieve them. And that's what we want to achieve as it is. So one of the first things I think is one of the best ways of being able to get to a result is having a coach. I've had a coach since the day I opened up my doors for my business. And his guy's name was Jerry. I love Jerry. Jerry was a former Marine. He scared the Jesus out of me. Sorry. And every time I called him, I was very nervous because he had that Marine way of being. And yet, Jerry kept me accountable, and I did things that I felt really uncomfortable about, but I needed to do in order to be successful. And yet, I felt very supported. He never made me do anything I couldn't do. He made me do things I didn't necessarily want to do. But the fact is, he did them because I needed to do them so that I could be more successful. A good coach will do that for you. A good coach knows how to take a 2x4 to your head and give you a kiss afterwards. And a good coach will also help you achieve that end result that you're looking for. Now, when people say to me, how do you find a coach? Well, lots of ways. First of all, you can search the internet, although I would not suggest that. You can hear people speak. I've picked up lots of my coaches just by hearing them speak at different workshops. You can ask people for recommendations. You can read books written by them, and they fit the philosophy. Just know that when you decide to hire a coach, you might want to interview them and ask them what kind of results they've achieved for different people so that they have the same philosophy as you. You don't have to like your coach. You just have to respect your coach. And I find that for me, when I'm coaching people, a lot of times people will say, you're so strict and militant. Well, the reason is that I'm trying to get you to a place that you want to go. Think about like a personal trainer. They don't go, hey, you want to have a cup of coffee? They say, drop and give me 10 more push-ups. And you go, oh, I don't want to. And yet, what do? You drop and give 10 more push-ups. And then, yay, I feel so good. Well, that's what a coach will do for you, is that they're like your personal trainer, except they're your trainer for your business, a trainer for your mindset, trainer for your finances, trainer for whatever else you might want to achieve in your life. I always think having a coach is a great thing, especially because they're the expert and you're not. So go get yourself a coach if you don't have one. Now, some people say to me, how can you afford a coach? Well, I have to tell you, when I first started the business, I paid my coach before I paid me. I did. And the reason why is because I thought to myself, the investment that I make in myself is going to pay myself back. And it did. I had a coach. I told you Alan Weiss was my coach, and I loved Alan Weiss. And I still love Alan Weiss. But I wrote Alan Weiss a pretty large check, but I also got a really large return back. So whatever you put into coaching, you want to get back as an investment. And you want to ask coaches, what's likely you're going to achieve by working with you? So getting a coach is really important. I now have 3 coaches. I used to have 1. Now I have 3. Because I find that as you get more successful, you need more people to help you achieve those end results. So now that I've convinced you to get a coach, you can get just one, and then you'll find if you need more. The next thing that you want to look for in terms of keeping you on balance for these steps is an accountability partner. Now, your accountability partner is someone that you don't normally pay. Your coach you pay. Your accountability partner is someone that you normally don't pay. And usually it's someone who you admire, or someone you want to learn from, or someone that has a similar philosophy with you. And what you do with your accountability partner is you meet with them on a periodically basis, and all you tell them is that I'm trying to achieve this step. They'll ask you how you're going to do that. You tell them. They're going to keep you on track, and off you go. It sounds pretty simple. I've had 3 accountability partners in my business. It took me 2 years to find the first one. And how did I do that? So one of the first things I did was I really defined what I wanted in an accountability partner. You know, I wanted someone who would be willing to kick my butt, who wouldn't put up with my nonsense, who would be good at helping me get on track, who would be available to me when I needed them to be available. And once I figured that out, then I went and looked for one. So how did you find it? I actually found my accountability partner, the first one, when I went to workshops. So I know that the personal development is really important, and you should be attending a workshop if you can at least once every quarter. Some people start once a year, that's fine. Move to twice a year, move to once a quarter, then move to once a month. And at the workshops, look for someone who you think could be your accountability partner. And you literally go up to them and say, hey, do you want to be my accountability partner? And the person will say, what does that entail? And you'll say, we talk once a week, and you hold me accountable, and I'll hold you accountable. That's all it took. And my accountability partner said, yes, she'd love to be. And I was with her for 2 years until we basically outgrew each other and decided that it was time to move on to something else. And you will find that with coaching and with accountability partners. And the other tools that I'm going to tell you about to keep you on track in this S stage, the fact is that you may need more than just one thing to keep you on track. You might need 2 things, 3 things. For me, as I've gotten more successful, I need lots of things. That's up to you. I think a coach first, accountability partner second. So once you have an accountability partner, what do you do about that? Well, what you do is that usually my accountability partner and I talk for about a half an hour on Mondays. I like Mondays because it's the beginning of the week. It allows me to start my week off really well. And then if I need help during the week, I can reach out to her via email or text. And so as I said, a half an hour, 15 minutes for her, 15 minutes for me. And what we talk about in those 15 minutes is what are we doing? What are we hoping to achieve? How are we going to achieve that? How do we need to be held accountable? And what will I report on next week? So 5 things. She goes, I go, and then we get off the phone. And that's easy. And if I'm getting off track, I call her up and say, I'm getting off track. And then she helps me get back on track. And that's what a good accountability partner will do, is they'll periodically check in on you and make sure that you're continuing working through those steps to get the results that you're looking for. So, coach, accountability partner. Third one, mastermind group. So a mastermind group is something that can be formal or informal. Formal. There are lots of organizations that you can pay to become part of a mastermind group. And there's lots of levels. If you're starting out, if you are an established entrepreneur or business owner, or if you're an established executive, there are lots of different accountability groups. A client of mine just recently started an accountability group in her organization. She gathered all the women together. They started to go to lunch and talk about not personal stuff. They started talking about work stuff and what do they need to do to be more successful at work. So it's not a bitch session. Accountability is not where you complain. It is literally about how you can move forward together. So my first mastermind group, there were 4 of us, and it was informal. I didn't pay anybody to be part of an accountability group. We just decided to read a book, which was the 52 Weeks to Success by Napoleon Hill. And what we agreed to was that each week we'd read 1 chapter, which was a couple of pages. We would write a write-up on what we learned and how we were going to implement it. Then we got on the phone for an hour. There were 4 of us, so each one of us took about 15 minutes. And then we talked about what we learned and how we were going to use that to move forward. And we also talked about how the ideas of how we could help each other in the areas that we were looking to achieve results in. And we did that every week for 54 weeks. I know that sounds crazy because it was 52, but we actually took off 2 weeks for vacation, both for holidays. So I think we were very diligent. We were very committed. We were willing not to let the other people down. We called from vacations, wherever it might be. We never changed the 4 o'clock at Monday. That was what we committed to, and it was a great experience. And it was simple. And so for my very first experience with a mastermind group, it can be a very, very simple thing. We did it on the phone. We didn't see each other. It was a conference call, and it was just 3 other people. A guy came up to me one day who I knew, and he said, "Hey, I want to do this book. It says we should do it. Are you in?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "And you picked 2 other people?" And that's how we met. And I still to this day carry the lessons that I learned from that mastermind group. So you can start a mastermind group tomorrow. It's not hard, and it will definitely help you. It just needs to have people who are committed. You need to do it around something, and I would suggest a book, which is the easiest thing. You can use the Napoleon Hill 52 Weeks to Success book. And then what are you going to learn from, and how are you going to implement it? And that's where you can use your steps, because your steps can be things that I'm trying to do this, or I'm working on doing this, and how can I help get to where I need to be? There are paid mastermind groups, which I've been part of also. I was part of a paid mastermind group for 2 years. And what's interesting was that originally we started out with 6 people, and then we ended up with 4 different people for the second year. And what was interesting about the mastermind group is, again, we met weekly on the phone, but then every quarter we flew to an interesting place to spend 2.5 days together working on our strategic plans and the steps that we were doing to achieve the things that we were looking to achieve. And that had a facilitator who helped us on our calls and with the group, so it was a paid facilitator. There were paid topics, meaning the topics that we chose, and then we worked together on that. So you can have a paid mastermind group. It's just a little more formal. It might be a great way for you to start off if you don't think that you have the ability to start off with a informal mastermind group. But I'm going to suggest that you do that. Find yourself a mastermind group. So coach, accountability partner, mastermind group. Now most people will say to me, "Jean, what's the first thing to start with?" I started with a coach. That was the first thing I did. I've always had a coach. Always, always, always. I then started with a mastermind group, and I layered a mastermind group on. And to this day, I still have a mastermind group. I have changed mastermind groups over the years as much as I've changed coaches over the years. My current coach I've been with 4 years. And that's the other thing. You can be with coaches a long period of time or a short period of time. I had a coach that I was with for 6 months. Just because I wanted to learn something specific, and when it was done, I moved on to the next person. But coach first, then a mastermind group. After I had the mastermind group, then I decided to add an accountability partner. So that was my track, and you might do a different track. You might do mastermind group first, then accountability partner, then coach. I just found for me that coaching really worked really well. Now, this is where you have to be aware of who you are as you go through the steps. Some people work really well in a group. Some people work really well one-on-one. Some people work really well on both. You have to decide which is best for you. For me, working on a one-on-one way is the best way to do it. I really enjoy working one-on-one. It allows me to get what I need. Not that groups can't work, because groups have been great. It's just I prefer one-on-one, which is one of the reasons why I started with a coach as opposed to starting with a mastermind group. So once you determine what it is that the way you like to learn, then that might also determine where you start. I'm going to suggest that the trifecta is coach, mastermind, accountability partner. And you should have all 3 in your business. Now, then people say to me, "Jean, how do I spend all that time doing all that stuff?" Well, if you've put the end result down that you truly want, then time is not an issue for you. Everything happens in time, and everything happens on time. And you are willing to take the time to get to that result. What I'm suggesting to you through the coaching, the mastermind, and accountability partner is that life happens, and you're going to get off track. And what are you going to do when you get off track? And how are you going to get back on track? Now you might say, "Well, I'll put it into my steps," and that's fine. Unless you understand the rhythm of where you're going to get off track, you don't know how to put them in those steps. So for example, I have a client whose mom just got really sick, and she wasn't expecting her mom to get sick, and that's thrown her off track. I know the steps that she needs to achieve because I'm her coach. And so when we talk on a weekly basis, I keep her on track, knowing what's going on in her life. Things have slowed down a little bit. That's okay. Remember, everything happens in time and on time. She's still working towards that end result. Nothing wrong with that. It's just the steps will take a little longer, and that's okay, although she knows the steps that she needs to do in order to achieve the result she wants. And that makes her ahead of everybody else. So I'm going to suggest that when you think about the steps section, A, write down the end result, work backwards to the steps, and then find people to hold you accountable for those steps. Because most of the time, if you don't hold yourself accountable, you won't achieve them. So find yourself a coach, find yourself an accountability partner, find yourself a mastermind group. If you need help with coaching or accountability partners or masterminds, you can go to b2btv.tv and we can help you find those things. If there's any questions or anything that you want to know more about, you can also go to B2B TV and go to Get More Results TV, and you can leave your questions there. I'll be happy to answer them. So again, now you know about steps. I want you to really think about how to utilize the steps, because the steps are really important in order for you to achieve the results that you're looking for. I want to thank you so much for listening and watching today. My name is Jean Oursler. I am the Results Queen, and you've been watching Get More Results TV. On to the next segment, which is you.